Yesterday we had Mega Garchomp Raid Day, and there was actually a couple of thoughts that I had during this event where I felt like Raid Days should be something that Niantic should do a lot more moving forward. I'm going to be talking about why in this video. Let's get right into it. Okay, how's it going everyone? It's me, it's Jinsula. I hope you're having a good day and welcome to today's Pokemon GO discussion video. Alright, so today we're going to be talking all about Raid Days because in my opinion, these events are some of the best events that Niantic does for Pokemon GO and they often get overrated. So, what exactly are raid days? Well, they're kind of like community days, whereas for just 3 hours in a particular day, there's going to be a whole bunch of raids of one particular Pokemon. And there typically is a couple of bonuses as well, some of which include just free daily raid passes, as well as bonuses related to Rare Candy and Rare Candy XL. In terms of yesterday, there was a couple of bonuses that you could get if you were to buy a $5 ticket. And yeah, it seems like it's a bit of a steep price, but a lot of people did find a lot of value from this ticket, specifically because they did give you a lot of free raid passes, and on top of that, you did have extra chances at getting Rare Candy XL. But aside from premium ticket purchases, I feel like raid days are just some of the most positive experiences you can have as a Pokemon GO player. Especially if you live in a higher populated area where you could do a lot of raids, you will be able to get a lot of rewards. And it typically feels a lot better compared to like community days or limited research days because you do get some really decent rewards as well as a much higher shiny chance on whatever the spotlighted Pokemon is. Just to give you an example, yesterday for Mega Garchomp Raid Day, there was a bunch of different rewards that you can get from those raids. And on top of that, the shiny rate for Garchomp encounters from those raids was about 1 in 10. So there was a high chance that you would get yourself a shiny Garchomp. Now, raid days are typically only done maybe once or twice every season, so this is not a frequent event by any means. But that's something I would like to see changed. When it comes to different events that Niantic throws every month, I really feel like raid days should be included in the mix, mainly because these events are pretty good, and they typically generate a lot of buzz within the Pokemon GO community. Like yesterday during Mega Garchomp Raid Day, we had an awesome attendance, even though it was pretty cold outside and the weather wasn't necessarily that good. But there was a lot of people out there, and I felt like this was what Niantic kind of envisioned for Pokemon GO originally, and why they were probably going to war against remote raids. It's really because they want to get players out there and playing together, and I really felt that yesterday during Mega Garchomp Raid Day. I mean, yeah, there were a couple of people that had to drive out pretty far in order to participate, and I really feel like that's something Niantic needs to address. Like, having people go out to high populated areas for these particular raid days is kind of commonplace, but at the same time, I really feel like they should open it up to rural players so that they could play from home, specifically with remote raiding. Like, that is probably the one criticism that I have with raid days, in that they are pretty much only going to be useful for people who live in urban areas and suburban areas. Like, if you have an active Pokemon GO community around you, as well as a ton of gyms that will give you those raids, then you're going to have a much better time than someone who lives in a rural area with no Pokemon GO community and they only have 1 or 2 gyms in their area. This is something that I feel like would be easily solved if Niantic were to reduce the cost of remote raid passes on these days and allow players to do way more than they are typically allowed. I mean, yeah, yesterday for Mega Garchomp Raid Day, they allowed players to be able to do at least 10 remote raids instead of 5, and I thought that was a decent change, but I feel like it should be even more. Like for me, in-person raids, I was able to do about 30 raids within the 3 hours, but for people who live in rural areas, they're only going to be able to do 10, and it's going to be extremely expensive. And I feel like that's completely unfair. Like, if people are not able to go out to those high populated areas, then they should still have a positive experience with these raid days. As long as Niantic makes the right changes to help out those players, I feel like raid days would be a phenomenal event for pretty much everyone. And that should be the goal for Niantic when it comes to Pokemon GO. Honestly, raid days have always been something that I've been looking forward to pretty much since the beginning. Ever since they originally had raid days featuring the legendary birds, like, that was always a very positive experience. Like, I met a lot of people through a lot of Wafu raids and different things like that, and on top of that, it was just very exciting. The fact that you could get a bunch of shinies, as well as a lot of high IVs during these raid days, and I typically thought they were going to be a staple within Pokemon GO. But after a while, Niantic completely disregarded them, probably because of the pandemic pandemic, but I feel like they need to make a return, like having a raid day every month, like how it used to be. And I really think Niantic should consider that, considering that raiding is a core aspect of Pokemon Go. It's probably the one gameplay mechanic that is keeping the game alive at this point. And I really feel like if Niantic wants to see their game continue to have longevity, then they need to consider doing a lot more when it comes to raiding. Plus, there's a lot of potential when it comes to raid days. Like, if they were to do it at a much higher frequency, there is possibilities for them to introduce a lot of cool Pokemon through raid days. They could introduce very rare and very powerful legendaries and mythicals through raid days, and they could also introduce shiny legendaries through raid days like how they originally used to do it. I really like the idea of them using raid days to its fullest potential, because as of right now, they're not really doing that, and I feel like there's a lot of missed opportunities here. Just imagine how it would be if we were to have a raid day every single month, and then they would use those raid days to introduce a new legendary, or maybe they could have it as a way to introduce new Mega Evolutions, like how they did with Mega Garchomp. I think that would be a much better system compared to what we have now. I mean, yeah, we do have the Wednesday raid hours, which have been really successful, but I think having a dedicated one-day raid day every single month would be a really good thing for Pokemon Go. And like I said, there's still a couple of things that they need to tweak when it comes to raid days. Like, I do not like the fact that a positive raid day experience is all contingent on buying a $5 ticket. Like, you should be able to enjoy these raid days with the passes that you already have. At the very least, I do like that even with every general raid day, if you do not spend money, they'll still typically give you a good amount of daily free raid passes so that you could participate in at least a couple of raids, but I really like the idea of them doing this monthly and having a bunch of different bonuses every time that is catered to whatever Pokemon they decide to go with when it comes to that raid day. So yeah, just to conclude with this video, I really feel like raid days should be a staple within Pokemon Go. I do not like the fact that we only get one or two of them every season. Why not have them every month? I think that would be a great thing for Pokemon Go. But that's just my own personal opinion. I know there's going to be players out there who completely disagree with me, but honestly, I had such a blast yesterday, and I saw that there was a lot of people outside, and they were having a blast as well. So I think this is something positive for Pokemon Go, and it is something they should consider for the game moving forward, but that's just my opinion on it. But yeah, any case, that's going to be it for this video. Now, I would love to know your thoughts regarding raid days down below. Are you someone who really enjoys raid days, or are you someone who thinks it's not necessary for the game? If you think so, definitely say so in the comments, and let's have a great discussion. And thank you so much for making it to this point in the video. If you found it to be interesting in any way, then make sure you hit that thumbs up button and subscribe if it's your first time here, and don't forget that little bell so you can stay up to date on whenever I upload videos. And I want to give a quick shout out to all of my patrons on Patreon. You make this channel content possible. If you want to support my channel in any way, big or small, then make sure you go and check out the links in the description below. For all my patrons, they get a permanent spot on my in-game friends list. So if you want to interact with me in some way within Pokemon Go, like with remote raids or the friendship system, then make sure you go and check out my Patreon. Also, if you want to support my channel without spending any money, then you can do so by following me on social media. My handle is @Jinsula, and I'm on the following platforms. Alright, and that's going to be it. I'm Jinsula. Be safe, have fun, love yourself, and I'll catch you all later.